Recording? All right. All right, let's act like it's not 100 degrees outside and I want to work on this Saturday and paint this car. Let's not hurt anyone's feelings in the comments. Let's do it just the way they want. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of Paint Society. My name is Brian, and in this episode, we're gonna be fixing this car that has less miles and days off in a week that I have. We're gonna take you through the stages of how to make this tri-coat look like it's never been touched. And if I could tell you how many of these I've messed up on, and if I can help you not mess up on them, please watch this video because we're gonna learn how I've learned to do this better. We're gonna learn some tricks along the way. We're gonna jump right into it right now and talk about that burn through, which is gonna happen with a lot of you guys when you're sanding down your primer. And for small bare metal like this, you can either etch it or you can use some auto prep pre-treatment wipes. Now, honestly, we could just seal this. For something that small, you're gonna be fine. I'm gonna be honest with you. But if you have something, why not? These are a little bit pricey, so it's not really a do-it-yourselfer type of deal. These are about 90 bucks for these wipes. But for cheap insurance, you're gonna try your best just to wipe the metal, one wipe, and that's it. And basically, from here, that's going to take the metal and it's gonna treat it properly so it cannot corrode down the road. We'll let that flash off. I'm gonna give it some time, maybe a good 20 minutes just in case, and then we can go with our sealer. But I'm gonna tell you, you could skip this step for something that tiny, just put some sealer over it. I'm sure you're gonna be fine. If it's a much bigger area, obviously epoxy, self-etching primer, and so on and so forth. We'll let this flash, and then we'll put a little bit of sealer right over that. And for this right here, we're just gonna cover this area, and then we're gonna use a blending additive. But before we do that, we're gonna take our tip, and we're gonna flip it, and we're gonna spray vertical. The reason why is, we don't wanna get any sort of overspray carrying too far in any direction we don't want. Up and down doesn't matter as much as left to right. The overspray that carries left to right, we're gonna have to eventually cover it, and we don't wanna do that. We really wanna minimize. All right, and just like that, we've contained it. Now what we're gonna do is use a blending additive over all the panels, and that's gonna help us as a visual aid, and it's gonna kinda help smooth over that edge just a little bit. And you always wanna be ready to go with your blending additive. Carry it all the way up and just about over the edge of our sealer. There's no need to directly go over it, but just about an inch into it. We'll carry like this, about 75% overlap, and just like that, once it dries, our sealer edge will be nice and smooth. Now, something this small, the repair is going to carry a little bit bigger than we want, but that's how we get the most effective result in the end, the most flawless finish, the smoothest and most transparent finish without any blotchiness. And after just about 10 minutes, completely smooth, and it's ready for the base coat. Now I'm using our DV1, and there's a reason why you're gonna see familiar guns on the channel, because they work. Now that same thing here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that fluid tip and just turn it. Now I learned this tip from one of my buddies over at Lexus. His name's Brian as well, so thanks Brian. Obviously what we're trying to do here is get coverage without ruining our blend zone. Get coverage and then we'll do our blend from there. This is really effective on these types of colors. So right here we'll get our coverage. Now this coverage is gonna look a little funny because this is the base coat. And I'm only gonna do coverage to about one coat, and that's all it needs because it covers so well over the sealer. So we're gonna leave that as is, and then we're gonna let it dry, and then we'll take a look at it. Now once we got coverage there, we're gonna take that same exact paint that we had, and we're gonna put about 1 to 1. So this is that base, and then this is gonna be that mid coat. And we're gonna take it and add about the same amount, 1 to 1, and this is gonna help with the transition of that color. So now we're gonna apply this, and we wanna start to lose the base coat within the panel itself before we do the full strength mid coat. Now when doing a job like this, since we're working in a semi-downdraft where it's taking the overspray across the panel, you're always gonna wanna tack off that panel that's moving with the overspray. If we had a downdraft and it would pull everything down, it'd make this job a lot easier, but we don't, so we must work within what we have. With the extra slow, it's super smooth here, which is what we want. Now we're gonna do our blend. So why would we do our blend here when we can eliminate 3 areas of blending and put it down to 2? So we're gonna take our color here, we're gonna come all the way down. So now we're gonna have blend, blend, instead of blend, blend, and blend. Minimize the amount of blending you have to do. Even though small area here, We take down the whole area so we don't have to have a blend in this. When we visually look at it from a distance, it's all the same. Now we're gonna do that same thing here with that vertical spraying, and that's gonna help us once again preserve our blend area. Around 14 PSI. Perfect. And now what we're gonna do is a blend. We're gonna do it right after this now, but we're gonna take this and thin it out. Now all I'm gonna do is do a little cocktail. Now, guys, if you don't wanna do all this, it's fine. This is what works better for me. People might think it's a little bit much, but I'm telling you, when you've been screwed by these paint jobs before, you find a way to make it work, even if it's not within the technical data sheets or the way you were taught from the original paint manufacturer. So we've just reduced it, we thinned it out, we put some blending agent in there. We're gonna go right over there now and do a little bit more of a blend. See, what we're trying to do is minimize the abrupt stopping of the blend. And what happens when we put the mid coat on is the mid coat will have such a tough time and it will highlight the abruptness of the edge of the blend. So if we can smooth and kind of transition this a little bit more into the existing panels, when we put our mid coat on, it's going to be better. We're going to take that tip and we're going to move it out now, because now we're going to start to do the blending from left to right. And when I do this, it's going to be a little bit more of a distance. So instead of about 4 inches, maybe about 5 or 6, and blending it in to the adjacent panels. Okay, and that's it. All right, so what we have here is, you see how the metallics in the base coat are generally blending into the existing. This takes a lot of room, these paint jobs, so always take a blend with it if you guys want these to come out really good. We'll let this flash. We have some nice existing blends in this area with the metallics, and then we'll come back with the red. All right, so you see how we're already starting to look like that red over here, right? This is where you can get into trouble, again, if these metallics cover too far. We're gonna spray the mid down now. Again, 14 PSI. This gun doesn't operate at a high PSI, low overspray, higher transfer efficiency rate. Theory would tell us to go ahead and get this covered. We're gonna work from the outside in. All right, so what have we done here? We've taken the areas that are very, very, very transparent and we've covered them up with our mid coat already. So we've handled the exterior of the blend. Now we're working towards that middle point, okay? So we're gonna let this flash. The best thing to do with these guys is let them flash. If you try to stack and stack and stack on top of wet paint with this color, it's just gonna sink all in. So let this kind of build a foundation so that our next coat will be able to build on top rather than sinking down in. For this color, this is what you gotta do. This is what works best for me. But you can see here, we didn't really go full coverage here on our base coat, and that's fine. We wanna kind of handle our areas now. Now we're not gonna have to kind of go as much far, and we're not gonna keep on stopping. A lot of painters are gonna run into the issue where you're working in the middle, and you stop, and you stop. You're working in the middle, and you stop, and you stop. You're working in the middle, then you get a dark spot, then you get a dark spot. Let's change the theory a little bit. Let's work from the outside in, and let's see how that works. Let's let it flash and hit it with the second coat. All right, so first coat is all dry. So our final stop on the first coat of mid was here and all the way back here. So now we're not gonna go that far. We're gonna take it in a little bit more and in a little bit more, start to cover this up. And I think after 3 coats, since this takes a lot to cover, I think we should be good. So we'll see what this looks like. Around 75% overlap, cover it on wet. Here we go, looking good, looking good. That's always gonna go on wet, reddish, and then when it dries, it'll dry a little bit darker, but we can see here, we're getting good coverage. We already know that, hey, our blend area is gonna be fine, right? Our blend area over here is gonna be fine. The only area here that's gonna be a little bit light is the area which we had base. So that's the only area now, the finalization, that we need to really make sure that it's got enough base on And I'm thinking here that probably one more coat will get out of this and we'll be fine. And after the second coat, guys, you can see we have our lights off and we have our Astro sunlight gun. This is the most important step. We gotta check our coverage. This is what it's gonna look like out in the sun. I'm gonna tell you that it looks good. I will tell you, I'm gonna put one more coat on because I know this color runs a little bit light when it gets into really natural sunlight. This is a great way to tell, but still, in natural sunlight, I know this color. So we're gonna put on one color, and I'm gonna talk to you about how we're gonna put this color on. Basically, I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the base. I'm gonna take about 1 ounce, give or take. I'm gonna take some blending additive. This is gonna help make it translucent. Put some in there. This is no science, some extra slow reducer. We're gonna thin this out even more. So now when we go to spray, we don't have to worry about a harsh edge, a dark edge, or any of that. And since I really lightened this one up, it doesn't matter if we stop here, or stop a little bit further. What I'm gonna do is go over the whole area. I'm gonna bring it out just a little bit past that initial blend, and this is gonna help even everything out. This is just the way I do things, guys. This is what works a little bit better for me. You can only do this once you have full coverage. If you don't have full coverage, then this is not gonna help out. But this is gonna help really just even things out once you got that full coverage coat. Think of it as like an orientation coat. And that's it, and we're done. I know that I have a nice match. I know that I have a good color. Everything's blended. There's no overspray or any paint on both of the tapes. Obviously, airborne overspray will get on that. It's an indication of how far your color is going, even if you think it's not. But we'll let this dry a good amount of time and give it 20 minutes before a clear coat. There's a lot of material on here. We want it to flash all off properly. Well, that's going to wrap things up on this video as I take a little drive around here and cool off on this Saturday, this very hot Saturday in Florida. We are in September, almost in October at this point, wishing for some cooler weather, hopefully towards October, November. But who knows? We take every day. Every day is a blessing that we get, hot or cold, as you all know. Every day is another day that we get to go out there and paint, whether we're experiencing problems or we're experiencing great results. We're going to take you guys along with us. So, guys, this is Brian from Paint Society. I'll put my belt on. I hear it. Don't overthink it. It's just paint. I'll see you guys on the next episode.